remarkable in that they appear to remain in parts of the Arabian Sea all year round, sustained by the plentiful supply of food that is the result of the seasonal nutrient-rich upwellings. As such, this population is unlikely to mix with other whales and may be genetically different from any other in the world. As well as investigating the genetics of the whale population, the song of the whales are recorded. The male humpback can be heard at certain times of the year. It is thought to attract females or to send messages to other males. Songs from different whale populations all vary slightly, but the songs from the Dhofar seem to include entirely new elements, which make the songs quite distinct from all others recorded. The very fact that humpback whales were found to be singing in Dhofar is remarkable, but the distinctive nature of their songs provides yet further evidence for an isolated population. This small stretch of Omani coastline is remarkable in its biodiversity. As the monsoon fades away, corals gain the upper hand again, and thousands of juvenile fish start to disperse to other parts of the coast. This region has gone through a whole cycle of life in just 4 months, as countless species live or perish between one monsoon and another. Darwish is one of a dying breed. Over 60 years of age, at one time a pearl diver, dugong hunter, and later simply a fisherman, a true old man of the sea. His knowledge of the Arabian Gulf is such that he instinctively knows where to stop and fish, catching them using a rather unconventional technique. Today, this instinctive knowledge is rapidly disappearing. A life at sea is not as attractive as it once was for today's younger generations.
كل شيء ما صار على صناعة لو قولي مال البحر. كل شيء من البحر ما صار على صناعة لو قولي يعني كل شيء اختلف. ما حد يقص على حد.
The knowledge of men like Darwish has an increasingly important significance in today's world, where the gradual loss of old men such as these mirror the changes of the Gulf's marine environment.
يعني كل الحمد لله موسم له موسم. يعني هذه الحين اللخم ما هو بلازم له كل قاكي، لازم لها ميحان. كل سمكة في البحر لها بعزة الله كون. يعني حد في الشتاء منهم، حد في الصيف، حد في الصيف، حد مش كلهم واحد. لكن أكثر شيء البدحة اللي ماخذ دور على السمك الحمد لله في العيال. كل أسبوع ترمي، كل أسبوع ترمي عيال. تاخذ لها 4 أشهر هالشغلة هاي. زاد الحمد لله تارس البحر وتارس الدنيا كلها.
In this film, we explore the different marine habitats of the Arabian Gulf. from coral carpets teetering on the edge of survival, to coastal mangrove forests and the shallows of the intertidal zones, to the highly productive seagrass beds and the surprising populations of marine mammals. At the entrance of the Arabian Gulf, the Musandam Peninsula's narrow Strait of Hormuz is considered to be one of the most strategically important oil shipping lanes in the world. But it's not just oil that travels through this relatively small single waterway, connecting the Indian Ocean with the Arabian Gulf. This artery fuels and sustains Arabian Gulf ecosystems, bringing important nutrients into the Gulf. Bordered by the world's most oil-rich countries, this is a difficult place to live for many marine organisms due to its harsh natural conditions. Yet it still supports some uniquely diverse marine life. As far as seas go, the Gulf is warm and shallow, with an average depth of only 35 meters. With constant hot air temperatures and brisk winds, water is continuously evaporating off the sea's surface. Limited inflow of fresh water from the Euphrates and Tigris rivers to the north is too little to replace the evaporated water, turning the Gulf waters into a very warm and salty sea. During summer, water temperatures sometimes reach as high as 36 degrees centigrade. In winter, water temperatures can plummet to under 10 degrees centigrade. The combination of high salinity and severely fluctuating temperatures forces many marine organisms to live at the edge of their tolerance limits, making the Gulf one of the most restrictive marine ecosystems in the world. Surprisingly, these extreme conditions don't limit the amount of life in the Gulf as severely as might be expected, but it does serve to limit diversity. Coral is an example of this phenomena. The Gulf today is home to fewer than 50 species of coral, a third of the number found in other Arabian seas. The corals here don't form the Great Barrier Reefs or atolls of the Indian Ocean, but are mostly limited to fringing reefs or coral carpets along the coasts and around islands, the reefs occurring as isolated or scattered colonies because of high sedimentation and lack of hard rock to grow on. The coral will, however, attach to any suitable substrate, and given the chance will blanket any firm rocky substrate in a thin layer, but rarely forms a barrier reef. Near the Gulf shores, conditions are particularly stressful. Regular construction development along the coastline throws sand particles into the water column, causing the water to become cloudy and preventing light from reaching significant depths. The sediments build up in areas, smothering coral and other marine plants. Coral carpets here are already struggling to survive the harsh natural conditions. Man-made impacts are an added pressure, and sadly, siltation can quickly kill coral communities. In some parts of the southern Gulf, the reefs face another threat. High salinity and warm waters favor the growth of many algae, which then compete with the coral. The reefs are currently losing the battle against this encroaching algae, which might threaten to upset the delicate balance of nature in the Gulf. Weakened coral becomes vulnerable to virus attack, and the Gulf is susceptible to yellow and black band diseases. These viruses attack the coral immune system, spreading throughout a colony at alarming speeds. As the coral weakens, algae start to overwhelm the reef. With the removal of algae-eating fish from an area due to overfishing, the cycle of life is undermined and algae flourish, outcompeting the corals. Back in 1996, the southern Gulf was subjected to record high temperatures, with waters reaching 38 degrees centigrade. Scientists working for Dubai Municipality monitored the spread of yellow and black band coral diseases across one of the northern Emirates' inshore reefs. Sadly, the combination of virus, warm water temperatures, and sedimentation killed off virtually 80% of an entire reef in under 1 year. Not many areas are out of reach of man's influence these days, but one place that is Karan Island, in Saudi Arabia's Jubail Marine Wildlife Sanctuary, the region's first marine protected area. This is an area that was hit by the first Gulf War's oil spill in 1991. At the time, between 6 to 11 million barrels of oil were released, spreading over 700 kilometers along the Gulf Coast, the residue of which can still be seen in areas where compacted tar has formed a layer on the sea floor. Despite this, it is believed that Jazirat Karan may be the finest example of coral community left within the northern and perhaps entire Gulf region. Every year, Saudi marine biologists from the National Commission for Wildlife Conservation and Development spend a month monitoring and measuring the coral conditions here, performing line transects and photographic surveys. The NCWCD divers are assessing the rate of growth and mapping the distribution of coral species around the island. The concern is that this beautiful example of Arabian Gulf coral community, once found in many parts of the Gulf, may be one of the last of its kind. Despite the limited diversity of species, the Gulf's corals are unique in that they can endure extremely harsh conditions when compared to corals in other parts of the world. Despite that,